everyone, and welcome to today's video walkthrough tutorial of Rajah the Tiger from LYKKE's AMITAMI kits. Before we actually get started with making Rajah, I wanted to go over everything included in your kit so we can get familiar with our materials before we actually jump into the tutorial. So really quickly, first and foremost, we have our instructions here. I will be going over these step by step with you, but if you want to follow along with me, we're going to start at the head and body and work our way down. So of course we have those. We also have the perfect amount of stuffing for Rajah, as well as our yarn. So we have our golden yellow, which is going to be our main color here. We have off-white, which is color A, and color B is going to be black. So all of those here. We of course have the most important part, which is going to be our crochet hook. For today's video tutorial, we're going to use a 2.5mm crochet hook. We also have a stitch marker and our tapestry needle to weave in all of our ends and mark the last stitch of each round. So with all of that out of the way, let's get set up and we will start working up Rajah. Last little important note to mention, there is on the instructions a table for abbreviations if you want to learn the abbreviations for all the terms we're going to go over today, as well as a basic conversion chart and a diagram for both magic ring and front and back loop, which I will be showing you magic ring in just a moment, and when we get to front and back loop I will show you that too. But if you're more visual and you want to look at it, they are listed here for you. So let's get right into Rajah. All we'll need to begin is our golden yellow main color, our stitch marker, and our crochet hook, and let's learn how to do a magic ring. Okay, so stick with me for the magic ring because the magic ring will be the most challenging part of today's tutorial, and it might take you a couple times to get, but I do encourage you to try your best to learn with me. If it's too much right now, that's totally okay. I do have a little hack I'll show you at the end that might be a little bit easier for you to use, but do give the magic ring a try because you might get it on your first try, who knows. So for round one, our instructions say using the main color, make a magic ring, chain one, and put 6 single crochets into the ring. So in order to do that, we need to make our magic ring. To make a magic ring, we're going to place our left hand out and put our index finger and our middle finger out and drape the yarn over those two fingers with the yarn tail hanging off of our middle finger here and the working yarn, which is attached to the skein here, going over our index finger. We can then take our thumb, hold that tail of yarn down, and take the working yarn, wrap it around our fingers, coming back up under our middle finger here. We're going to create a crisscross over our index finger. Once we've done that, we can turn our hand, and with our ring finger, let's grab that working yarn to hold it in place for the next step. Next thing we want to do is take our crochet hook with the hook side facing downwards towards your table, and you're going to go under that first strand of yarn, grab that second strand with your hook, and let's pull it back under that first strand. Once you pull it under, or as you're pulling, whichever you prefer, you can start twisting the hook towards you, and you want to kind of create a little bit of a loop on the hook. And then we're going to slide that loop over to our working yarn coming off that we're holding with our ring finger, and we're going to grab that yarn up with our hook. We're going to then take the yarn and pull it through that loop that is on our hook already, and we have created a magic ring, which a magic ring just means that when we pull this end of the tail here, of the yarn tail, it's going to create a cinched loop. A magic ring is just an adjustable loop, so it works as magic. Let's do that one more time together though, okay? Both fingers out, draping the yarn over our fingers, clamping it in place with our thumb. We'll give the yarn a wrap around those fingers and create an X over our index finger. Turning our hand slightly with our ring finger, we're holding down that yarn while we take our crochet hook, hook side down, underneath that first strand, grab that second strand. Pulling that second strand back under the first strand and twisting the hook towards us, we scooch the hook over and scoop up that working yarn, pulling that yarn through that loop on our hook already, and we have again made our magic ring that is adjustable, okay? So if that is a little too overwhelming, again, don't worry. I do encourage you to practice that, but I will show you a little trick you can use in the meantime. So this works just as well. Go ahead and make your slip knot first and chain up 4 from that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now from this chain 4, you can actually go into this first chain that you created closest to your slip knot, and you can slip stitch into that chain just like that, And now it's hard to tell on camera, but there is a tiny hole here that you can actually work your stitches into, and that's a great way to kind of do a magic ring dupe, if you will. The only difference here is that you cannot adjust the hole size after you have created this hole from the chain 4. It is stuck at that size, so that's the only difference with a magic ring. You can then adjust it, of course, but that is a great way to make a circle without having to make the magic ring. So I've created my magic ring, and we are going to start our next step of round 1 instructions. So go ahead and make your magic ring or your chain 4 slip stitch, whichever one you find easier for you. So once you're here, we're going to go ahead and chain up 1, and we can now work our 6 single crochets into the ring. When it says into the ring, that literally means we're taking our crochet hook and going in and under that ring, and we're going to grab that yarn and pull it back through the ring, just like that. And then we're going to yarn over and pull through. Okay, that's a single crochet. And again, we're going into that ring, scooping up the yarn, pulling it back over, yarn over, pull through is 2. So we need to do that 6 times. So there's 3, 4, 5, and 6. If you're working the magic ring, you want to make sure you're always working over both of these 2 strands of yarn. Working over both of these strands is what will cinch up that circle for you. So after you've worked your 6 single crochet, if you did the magic ring, go ahead and pull on your yarn tail and close up that ring. So you now have your 6 single crochet kind of in a circle here, and you want to take your stitch marker here and place it in that last single crochet of round 1. That's going to mark the end of our round, which will get extremely important as we continue working on. It'll be hard to tell where the end of the round is without that stitch marker. So for round 2, we're going to make an increase in every stitch all the way around, which will bring our stitch count from 6 single crochet up to 12 single crochet. So into that first stitch right here that we made, we are going to make 1 single crochet into that stitch. And in order to make it an increase of the stitch, you just need to make 1 more single crochet in the same stitch. An increase just means 2 single crochet in 1 stitch. Okay, and then into the next stitch, we're going to do the exact same thing. So 1 single crochet and 2 single crochet, both into that 1 stitch, and you'll repeat that process all the way around until you get to that stitch marker. You'll place 2 single crochets in there, and that will be the end of round 2. So I'll see you when you complete all of those, and we'll begin round 3 together. I've just made my last single crochet of round 2, so I'm going to move my stitch marker up to that last stitch, and that's how we'll move our stitch marker for every single round to follow. So for round 3, our instructions are to make 1 single crochet in the next stitch and then an increase in the next stitch 6 times to bring our stitch count from 12 to 18 single crochet. So into that first stitch, we're just going to work 1 singular crochet. So we'll do that. And then into that following stitch is where we'll work 2 single crochet, which is an increase into that stitch. And that's the first sequence. So we need to do that 6 times repeated around the circle. So again, into the first stitch, we have 1 single crochet. Into that next stitch, we're placing 2 single crochet in the 1 stitch. And go ahead and complete that now 4 more times, and I'll meet you back at the stitch marker. We'll begin the next round together. Okay, so that's the end of round 3. We're just increasing the size of the circle as we go here. So for round 4, we're going to make 1 single crochet in the next stitch, increase in the next stitch, single crochet in the next stitch, 6 times in a row to get to 24 single crochet. So the sequence for this round is going to be 1 single crochet in the first stitch, then in the second stitch, 2 single crochet, and then in that third stitch, 1 single crochet. And then we repeat the process. So into the first stitch, 1 single crochet, into the next stitch, 2 single crochet, 1, 2, and into the third stitch, 1 single crochet. So go ahead and keep repeating that process all the way around. I'll meet you back at the stitch marker, and we'll begin round 5 together. All right, so I've just finished round 4, and now for round 5, we're going to make 1 single crochet in the next 3 stitches and then an increase 6 times to get to 30 single crochet. So again, let's begin this together. We have 1 single crochet in the first stitch. Oh, my stitch marker is going crazy. In the next stitch, we have 1 single crochet. Into the third stitch, 1 single crochet. And into that fourth stitch, let's do an increase. So remember, an increase is 2 single crochet in 1 stitch. Perfect. Let's do that again. Into the first stitch, 1 single crochet, next stitch, 1 single crochet, third stitch, 1 single crochet, fourth stitch, 2 single crochet, another increase. So go ahead and complete that 4 more times by yourself, and I will meet you at the end of round 5 and we'll begin round 6 together. So that is the end of round 5. Now for round 6, we're doing something a little bit different because we're not doing any increasing at all this round. So the instructions for round 6 are 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way around. We're going to keep our stitch count at 30. So all you have to do is place 1 single crochet in every stitch all the way around. Again, no increasing. I will see you back here at the end of this round and we'll begin round 7 together. Okay, and now we're going to begin round 7. So for round 7, it says 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches, then an increase in the next stitch, single crochet in the next 2 stitches 6 times to get to 36 single crochet. So let's work that sequence together so we can get familiar with it. Into the first stitch, we have 1 single crochet. Into the next stitch, we have 1 single crochet. And then into that third stitch, we're doing an increase. So 2 single crochet in that 1 stitch, remember. And then into the following 2 stitches, just 1 single crochet. 1 and 2. And then we repeat. So again, 1 single crochet in the first stitch, 1 single crochet in the second stitch, and an increase. 1, 2. And after that, 1 single crochet in the next stitch, 1 single crochet in the next stitch. We needed to do that 6 times. We've done it twice already, so do it 4 more times. I'll meet you back here at the stitch marker and we'll start round 8. Okay, so now we're on to round 8. So actually for round 8 through 10, which is going to be 3 rounds total, we're going to do the same thing we've done before where we make 1 single crochet into each stitch all the way around. No increasing needed in these stitches. We're just literally working 1 single crochet in each stitch. Remember at the end of each round to move your stitch marker up. And I would also recommend you keep track on a piece of paper of what round you've worked. So just make a little tally after each round because it's really easy to lose track of what round you're on. So go ahead and work those 3 rounds of no increasing, just 1 single crochet in every stitch, and I'll meet you back here at the end of those 3 rounds. Okay, so now you should start to have this little bowl shape worked up, which is exactly what we want. So that is perfect, and let's carry on with the next round. So round 11 is a little bit lengthy, so we're going to work it together. First set of round 11, let's break it down together, is to put 1 single crochet in the next 9 stitches. So let's do that, just regular 1 single crochet for the next 9 stitches. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay, that was part 1 of round 11, and for the next set of instructions, we need to make 1 single crochet in the next stitch and an increase in the next stitch. We're going to do that 3 times in a row. So let's do that. So into the first stitch, 1 single crochet, into the next stitch, an increase, so that's 1 time. Let's do that again. Into the first stitch, 1 single crochet, into the next stitch, an increase, that's 2 times now, and we need to do that 1 more time. 1 single crochet in the first stitch, in the next stitch, an increase. Okay, so now we've completed that 3 times. Let's move on to the next set of instructions for round 11, which is going to be 1 single crochet in the next 6 stitches. So let's do that. And this is just 1 regular single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Very good. And then for the next set of instructions, we have 1 single crochet in the next stitch and an increase 3 times again. So just like we did previous, we'll do 1 single crochet in the first stitch, into the next stitch, an increase, which is 2 single crochet in that stitch. And again, into the next stitch, 1 single crochet, into the next stitch, an increase. Now we've done that 2 times in a row, and we need to do it 1 more time. So into the first stitch, 1 single crochet, and into the next stitch, an increase. There we go. Okay, so that's our sequence of 3, and now to finish off round 11, we just need to make 1 single crochet in the remaining 9 stitches. So not too bad there, just a lot of information at once. So go ahead and complete that, and I'll meet you back here once we've completed our last 9 single crochet. Okay, so now we have another set of repeat rounds. So for round 12 and 13, 2 rounds, go ahead and place 1 single crochet in each stitch. There's 42 stitches in the round, so we'll do that 2 times, and I will meet you back here after. Remember to move your stitch marker up after every single round. All right, we are now done with our repeat rounds, and we're going to do round 14 together because again it is another lengthy one. So it starts off the same as the previous round we worked together, where we work 1 single crochet in the first 9 stitches. So let's do that. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And after those 9 stitches, our next set of instructions is to work a single crochet in the next stitch and then a decrease 3 times. So we haven't done a decrease yet, so let's do that one together. Into that first stitch though, let's do a normal single crochet together. And then into the next 2 stitches, we're going to work a decrease, because a decrease means taking 2 stitches and making them into 1 stitch. So to do that, we're going to enter the first stitch the same as always, and we're going to grab our yarn and pull it through. So where we usually have 2 loops on the hook and we yarn over and pull through, we're not going to do that. We're going to swing our hook over to that next stitch and enter that stitch and pull up a loop again. So we have 3 loops on our hook right now. Then we can yarn over and pull through, and now we've just made our 2 stitches into 1 stitch. So let's do that again. Into the first stitch we have 1 single crochet, and then a decrease into the next 2 stitches. So into the first stitch, grab our yarn, pull up a loop. Into the next stitch, grab our yarn, pull up a loop. 3 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through, and we have to do this 1 additional time. So into that first stitch, 1 single crochet, and into the next 2 stitches, pulling up the first loop, pulling up the second loop, yarn over, pull through all the loops. There we go. That was our 3rd decrease. So after those set of instructions, we need to work 1 single crochet in the next 6 stitches, just like we had done in that last round we worked together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Very nice. After those 6, we're going to do that same set of repeats where we worked 1 single crochet in the next stitch and an increase in the next stitch 3 times. So we're duplicating that same process. Into that first stitch, 1 single crochet. Over the next 2 stitches, let's make our decrease. Remember, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through. There's 1 single crochet in the first stitch. Over the next 2 stitches, we make our decrease 2, and our last one single crochet in the first stitch. Over the next 2 stitches, we make our decrease. There we go. Okay, so that was our next set of instructions for round 14, and then to finish off round 14 we need to make 1 single crochet in the remaining 9 stitches. So go ahead and work those 9 stitches left, and we'll meet back for round 15 together. All right, now for round 15 we're going to bring our stitch count from 36, which is what it is right now, down to just 30. So our instructions are make 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches, and then a decrease in the next stitch, and then a single crochet in the next 2 stitches 6 times. So let's start that sequence together. Into the first stitch, 1 single crochet, second stitch, 1 single crochet, third stitch, our decrease. Remember to enter into both of those stitches, yarning over and pulling through all 3, and finishing off the sequence with 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches. All right, that's 1 time through, 6 times total, so let's do 1 more time together. Into the first stitch, 1 single crochet, into the next stitch, 1 single crochet. Over those next 2 stitches, our decrease, and into those next 2 stitches, 1 single crochet each. There we go. Now we've done that 2 times together, so do that 4 more times by yourself. We'll have 30 single crochet at the end of this, and I'll meet you back at the stitch marker for round 16. Okay, the instructions for round 16 is 1 single crochet in the next 3 stitches and then a decrease 6 times to bring our new stitch count down to 24. Let's begin that together. We have 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, 3 single crochet, and then over those next 2 stitches, a decrease. And that's 1 time through. Let's just do one more time together. 1 single crochet in the first stitch, 1 single crochet in the second stitch, 1 single crochet in the third stitch, and of course then another decrease. Go ahead and work that 4 more times by yourself, and I'll meet you back at the end of this round. We'll begin round 17 together. Now for round 17, our instructions are 1 single crochet in the next stitch, a single crochet decrease, and then a single crochet in the next stitch. 6 times to bring our stitch count down to 18, so let's do it again together. We have 1 single crochet in the first stitch, then over these next 2 stitches, let's make a decrease. And then we finish the sequence by 1 single crochet in the next stitch. Go ahead and do that 6 times, and then that will actually be the last round of the head. We'll begin working the body together, which will be continued off of this point. We won't be fastening off. So I will meet you back here in one moment to start the body. All right, so that's the end of the head, as I mentioned. So for the body and round 18, we're gonna work in the back loop for this round and this round only. So I'll show you how to do that, but our instructions are working in the back loop, single crochet in the next stitch, increase in the next stitch, single crochet in the next stitch, 6 times to bring our stitch count to 24. So we are typically used to working through both that front and back loop of the stitch, just like that. So we always have these 2 little loops here, but when you're working through the front and back loop of a stitch, you are either working through the front, which is the loop kind of closest to you, that first loop, or the back loop, which is the loop behind it. And that's just that one singular strand, again, versus the 2 like that. So we are going to work just in that back loop, okay? So to work this round in the back loop, we're just going to make 1 single crochet, which is just a normal single crochet just in that back loop. And then into the next stitch, we're going to do an increase, still only in that back loop, just like that. And then into the next stitch, we make 1 single crochet. And then we repeat 1 single crochet in the next stitch, an increase in the next stitch, 1, 2, and into the next stitch, 1 single crochet. As you begin working this round in the back loop, you're going to see this little kind of like ridge line almost, if you will, form. That's exactly what you want. That's a good sign. So that means you're doing it correctly. So go ahead and complete that sequence all the way around, working a single crochet in the next stitch, an increase in the stitch after, and then a single crochet in the next stitch. We need 24 single crochet at the end of this round, and I'll meet you back here to work round 19 together. Great job there. We are ready for round 19. Round 19 reads 1 single crochet in the next 3 stitches and then an increase 6 times to get our stitch count back up to 30. Remember, we're going back through both the front and back loop now again. That back loop was just for the last round. So we have 1, 2, 3, and an increase, and that's 1 time through. So do that 5 more times total. I'll meet you back at the stitch marker to begin the next round together. All right, now let's begin round 20. Round 20 is 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches, an increase in the next stitch, and a single crochet in the next 2 stitches, bringing our stitch count back up to 36. So we're pretty used to this by now, but let's do it one more time together. So we have 1 single crochet in the first stitch, 1 single crochet in the second stitch, then an increase into the third stitch, which is 2 single crochet in a stitch, and finishing off with 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches. Go ahead and complete that sequence 5 more times by yourself, and I'll meet you back here. We're going to begin another set of repeat rounds after this, so I'll see you in just a moment. Okay, now we've got 36 single crochet, and we're going to stay at 36 single crochet per round for the next 6 rounds because we have, again, our repeat rounds coming up. So for round 21 through 26, go ahead and make 1 single crochet in every stitch all the way around, no increasing, no decreasing. Remember to move that stitch marker up with every round, and again, I would just highly recommend you mark on a scrap piece of paper or the instructions so you don't lose track of what round you're on. I will see you back here in a moment once we have those 6 rounds worked. Welcome back from working those 6 rounds of 1 single crochet in each stitch. Let's move on to round 27 together. Round 27 is something we are used to now, which is going to be 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches, then a decrease, and then 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches 6 times. We're decreasing now, so we're going to bring our stitch count from 36 back down to 30. So let's begin the round together. We'll work the first sequence. We have 1 single crochet in the first stitch, 1 single crochet in the second stitch, and let's do a decrease refresher. Into the first stitch, grabbing the loop, pulling the loop up, and into the second stitch, grabbing the loop, pulling the loop up. 3 loops on the hook, yarning over and pulling through. Perfect. And then into the next stitch, 1 single crochet, into the next stitch, 1 single crochet. Very nice. And let's just do it one more time together. Into the first stitch, 1 single crochet, into the next stitch, 1 single crochet. Over the next 2 stitches, let's do a decrease. There we go. And finishing off the sequence with 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches. So now we've worked it 2 times together. Work it 4 more times and I will meet you at the end of this round. We'll begin round 28 together. Okay, next up for round 28, our instructions are 1 single crochet in the next 3 stitches, then a decrease. We're going to bring our stitch count down to 24. So go ahead and complete that. 1, 2, 3 single crochet, 1 in the next 3 stitches, and then our decrease. There we go. That's 1 time through. Go ahead and do that 5 more times and we'll meet back at the stitch marker. We're going to begin round 29 next. So I've just completed round 28 and now before we move on to round 29, I'm going to take my crochet hook with my loop on the hook and just kind of pull it up a little bit like this to enlarge the size of my loop because we are going to go ahead and take our crochet hook out and begin stuffing our tiger. So I have pulled some of the stuffing up and I'm just going to pull it apart in my hands a little bit just to really fluff it up and then we can just begin adding it into Rajah's body and to the head. You want to push it all the way down into that head area and we're going to stuff this firmly. We don't want to be overstuffing, but we do want it nice and firm there. So go ahead and stuff yours until you feel like you're at a good amount. We will still add more as we begin continuing decreasing. Make sure when you finish stuffing it's not overstuffed like this because we do still need to be working our stitches in this last round of single crochet, so that will make it challenging if we have stuffing poking out everywhere. But go ahead and stuff yours to be pretty full and then we'll really begin closing up Rajah. So for right now I'm pretty happy with how stuffed this is. The head is completely stuffed and the body is mostly stuffed, so I'm going to add my crochet hook back onto the loop and on the working yarn I can just pull it all the way down. And now we have our loop nice and snug to the hook again and we can begin round 29. So round 29 is 1 single crochet in the next stitch, a decrease, and then a single crochet in the next stitch. We're going to do this 6 times to bring our stitch count down to 18. So to start that together, we have 1 single crochet in the first stitch, then a decrease in the next 2 stitches here, and then a single crochet in the next stitch. Go ahead and complete that 5 more times and I will meet you back at the stitch marker and we'll begin round 30 together. So for round 30 we're going to make this hole even smaller. We're going to do 1 single crochet in the next stitch and a decrease in the next stitch. We're going to do this 6 times to get down to just 12 single crochet. So into that first stitch, 1 single crochet. Stitch marker is kind of in the way there. And then over the next 2 stitches, a decrease. There we go, and go ahead and complete that 5 more times. I'll meet you back at the end of this round. We'll begin round 31 together. So here we are at round 31, the last round of the head and body. Yay! So our instructions for round 31 are a single crochet decrease 6 times to bring our stitch count from 12 down to just 6. So that means every single stitch is a decrease stitch. We're not doing any single crochets in between. So we have 1, and we'll work 2. You might have to pinch it together a little bit as you go because these stitches do start to get really tight. So we have 3 right here. Awesome. Number 4. 5. And for this last one, I need to remove the stitch marker, and we actually don't need to place this back in since it's the last round, so we can just remove it entirely. And let's do our last little decrease right here. That is perfect. All right, now our hole is extra super tiny. If you want to even add just a little bit more stuffing in from here, you totally can. I'm gonna pull my hook up a little bit, probably just pop a little more in there, and I'm gonna use the back of my crochet hook to do so, just because I don't wanna try to stick my nail in there. It probably won't work. So I'm just gonna push this in and then we'll fasten off together. So I'll be back in one moment. Okay, now I've got Rajah stuffed up enough for me. So I'm just gonna put my crochet hook back on to the working yarn like that, how we cinched it in before, and go ahead and chain up one. That's going to fasten off and secure our stitches into place, and then we can take our scissors and cut ourselves a tail because we are actually going to weave in our ends here too. So after you've done that, you can take your crochet hook and pull it straight up and off, and the yarn will come through, which is exactly what we want. That's gonna really secure that into place and make sure none of these stitches can come undone, which of course we would not want them to come undone. Then you'll go ahead and thread your yarn onto your tapestry needle here, and we're gonna sew this hole closed. So in order to do that, all you wanna do is go into that first stitch from the outside and push it in towards the stuffing, so away from you. Like this. We're just going to weave this through. Next stitch is right here. We're going to come towards us from the inside of the stuffing outwards towards us, and repeat this all the way around. Next stitch goes inwards towards the stuffing, and the following stitch comes out towards us. That's 4 times. Here's 5 and number 6, which was our last stitch of the round, and then we can go ahead and cinch that closed. And now none of that stuffing is going to come popping out. So after we've done that, we can just secure this yarn into place by weaving it through random spots of the body a couple times. That will just make sure that this hole won't open back up at any point. And then I kind of have it come out a random spot over here just on the body so that it doesn't come flying out, the yarn tail doesn't come flying out of the project at any point. I can just cut it from here and it'll just kind of hide away into the body. Just like that. So now we have our head and body of Rajah worked up. We look like a little peanut right now, which is cute, but he will start to take shape once we get his arms and legs and all those things working. So now we're going to work on the ears. So we can put his head and body aside, and we can also take our yarn and tapestry needle, put that aside as well. We just need our crochet hook again, and we're going to stick with our main color here, which is our golden yellow. Let's begin the ears together. You're gonna make 2 ears, but we're gonna make the first one together. So let's work the first one with our main color. Create a magic ring, or you can do your chain 4 slip stitch method, whichever one you are choosing for this tutorial, and chain up 1. After we chain up 1, we need to make 6 single crochets into that ring as we did to start the head of Rajah. So there's 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. There we go, and we can pull our tail tight to close up that magic ring, and we will place our stitch marker in the last stitch of this round. Now that we've done that, we can move on to round 2. Round 2 is an increase in every stitch, so we already know what an increase is. We just need to make 2 single crochet in every stitch all the way around. So our stitch count will go up from 6 to 12. So go ahead and make an increase in all of these stitches. I will see you back for round 3. Okay, we've completed an increase in every stitch all the way around, and now for rounds 3 and 4, we're going to do 2 rounds of 1 single crochet in every stitch. So keeping that stitch count at 12 per round, I will see you back here at the end of these repeats, and we're going to fasten off the ear together. Okay, I've just worked my last stitch of round 4, and I'm going to fasten off by chaining up 1 and cutting a tail to sew this on to Rajah's head later, just like that. And I'm going to pull my loop up and off my hook, and that's the end of the ear. So a lot easier than our head and body was to work, much faster. So go ahead and make 1 more ear, and we'll meet back to make the muzzle together. So once you've worked both of those ears, we're going to take a small break from our yellow yarn, our main color, and we're going to grab our off-white to make the muzzle. So let's just begin by again making our magic ring, and or you can do your chain 4 slip stitch, again whichever you're using, that'll work for me, and chain up 1 Into that ring, let's put 6 single crochets just as normal. Pull that tail closed and go ahead and mark the last stitch of the round with your stitch marker. And for round 2 of the muzzle, again, we're going to make an increase in every stitch all the way around. So let's bring our stitch count from 6 up to 12. An increase is 2 single crochets in every stitch. I'll meet you back here at the end of this round. We'll begin round 3 together. All right, I just finished round 2, and the muzzle is nice and quick because round 3 is going to be our last round of the muzzle, and round 3 is 1 single crochet in every stitch all the way around. So go ahead and do that, and then we'll fasten off the muzzle together. You can take your stitch marker out when you're done with round 3 and chain up 1. Go ahead and leave yourself a little bit of a tail here to sew it on to Rajah's face later. Pull your loop up and off the hook, just like that. And we can actually put our muzzle and our off-white yarn aside because we are through with these. We're gonna go back to our yellow yarn here to make the arms. So in order to make the arms, again, begin with that magic ring or your chain 4 slip stitch, whichever one you're working, and go ahead, chain up 1, then put 6 single crochets into that ring, and we'll cinch that up as usual. So I'll meet you back here once I do that really quick. So now that we have our 6 single crochet and our stitch marker in place, we can begin round 2, which is going to be 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches and then an increase. We're going to do that 2 times. So we have 1 single crochet and 2 single crochet into that 3rd stitch, an increase, 1, 2, and we'll do that one more time. 1 single crochet in the next stitch, 1 single crochet in the next stitch, and at the stitch with our stitch marker, we can remove and place 2 single crochets into that stitch. Now we've entered some repeat rounds. So for the next set of instructions for these arms, for rounds 3 through 6, which is going to be 4 rounds, go ahead and make 1 single crochet in every stitch all the way around. So we just have 8 single crochets per round for 4 rounds. I'll meet you back here to fasten off these little arms together. Once you finish the last stitch of the arm, go ahead and chain up that 1 as we're used to. Leave yourself a nice little tail to sew this on to Rajah's body later. Pull that yarn up and off the hook and go ahead and make 1 more of these arms. We'll meet back to do the 2 legs together as well. So now for the legs, we're still working with our main color here, and go ahead and make that magic ring or the chain 4. I'm gonna say it every time. Chain up 1 after you make that and go ahead and add those 6 single crochets into that magic ring, adding my stitch marker into the last stitch of round 1. And for round 2, we need to make an increase again into every stitch. So we remember increase is 2 single crochet per stitch. So go ahead and do that. We're going to bring our stitch count up again from 6 to 12. Now for rounds 3 through 5, which is going to be 3 rounds total, we have a repeat round. So make 1 single crochet in every stitch all the way around. So 12 single crochets per round for 3 rounds, and I will meet you back here to fasten off our little leg together. I just finished my 3 rounds of the leg. Of course, we're going to finish with our chain up of 1 and leaving ourselves a nice tail to sew this on to Rajah's body later. Go ahead and pull that loop up and off your hook. Make 1 more of these. Now you can stuff the legs now or when we assemble it onto the body. I'll wait till I am assembling, but you can do either one. I'll meet you back here after you make your other leg and we'll begin our tail. Okay, so we're gonna begin the tail for Rajah now. So to start that tail, go ahead, do your magic ring or chain 4 slip stitch. Again, you know the drill. Chain up 1 from here and put 6 single crochets into that ring. I will meet you back here in 1 second. Make sure to put your stitch marker in the last stitch of this round. Okay, and now for round 2 through 14, so 13 repeat rounds, which is our longest set of repeat rounds yet. We're gonna work 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way around for Rajah's tail. We're gonna make this nice and long. It's gonna be a big long tube at the end. So go ahead and work your 13 rounds. Make sure you move that stitch marker every round and keep track on a scrap piece of paper so you don't lose count. I'll see you back here to fasten the tail off. Okay, once you've worked Rajah's big long tail, go ahead and of course we know the drill. Chain up one, leave yourself a tail for sewing. We've got one thing left to make, which is the collar, and then we can actually begin sewing Rajah all together, which is so exciting. So put this little tail aside and let's start on the collar together. Okay, so to begin this collar, you probably thought I was going to say make your magic ring or chain 4 slip stitch, but no, we are just going to make a slip stitch and we're going to chain up 30 from here. So 30 chains. I will meet you back here once I have my 30 chains and we'll begin row 1 of the collar. Okay, so I've just chained up my 30. I've got a very long braid here. Make sure it's nice and straight and we can begin row 1, which there is only one row, but it is a lengthy one. So let's get into it. We are going to go ahead and place 3 single crochets in the second chain from the hook. So into the second chain here, 3 single crochets. And we are actually going to be placing 3 single crochets in every single stitch down this braid. So every chain space down this braid here, we're going to place 3 single crochets just like that. This is going to create a very ruffly, kind of spirally piece, and that is completely okay. That's actually what we want, because if you look at the photos, Rajah does have a very ruffly collar, so that's exactly what we're going for here. It might be kind of weird while you're working it, but just keep going. So go ahead and continue working those 3 single crochet in every single chain space all the way down, and I'll meet you back here at the end. We will fasten off and finally begin assembling Rajah together. So this is what my collar looks like all worked up. As you can see, very squiggly, swirly, as I said it would be. And just remember to chain up 1 afterwards before fastening off. Leave yourself a nice little tail here because we'll need to sew this entire thing around Rajah's neck. I'll leave that, and I'm of course going to pull my loop up and off my hook. So now I just need to bring all of my pieces forward. We can actually say thank you so much to our crochet hook. We will not be needing that. We're going to need our tapestry needle next, and I will get set up and then we'll meet back to start assembling. Okay, so I've pulled all of my pieces of Rajah forward just to show you everything we're going to be working with, but we're going to break this down step by step. So I am going to remove everything we're not working with at the moment just to make it a little bit easier for us to know what we're even doing here. So we're going to work on this nose first. So we can actually even remove Rajah's body because that will come secondly. And I have already gone ahead and threaded my black yarn, which is going to be color B, onto my tapestry needle here. So the first step of assembling Rajah is to embroider a V-shaped nose and muzzle, making vertical stitches under the nose, positioning the muzzle on the face between rounds 9 and 15 of the head, stuffing lightly, using the yarn tail to sew it into place. That's a lot of instructions. So let's take it step by step. First thing we need to do is create Rajah's muzzle and nose. So we're going to come from behind the muzzle and we're going to push our yarn needle through the center of the project here, of the nose, and pull that all the way through. And then when we have quite a bit of a yarn tail here, because we do have a lot of black, so we'll have quite a bit of tail left, we are going to start creating that nose. So we're going to go up 1 stitch and slightly to the right, and we can go into that stitch from the front to the back. Pull that all the way through. Once we've done that, from the back now we can come slightly left and diagonal on the other side. We want to be as even as possible and pull it through to the front. And then from here we can go ahead and push back into the center of the stitch where we made that first line that we had come out of there. We'll go back into that center and we've almost got our V shape. So now with our black yarn in the back, we can come from either the left or right side, whichever you prefer. I'm going to come out the right side right here, and we're going to poke our yarn needle back through and pull it all the way through again. I'm going to hold this white yarn over here so it doesn't get all tangled up. There we go. And let's just bring it across from one side of the V to the other side. So now I'm going to go back into the left side here and push it through. So now we have a nice little triangle worked, and now we just need to fill that in. So let's come back out the middle again. This is always kind of like our home base almost, if you will. So we'll come out the middle and we can go straight up 1 stitch and through the middle again. And we're just going to fill that in a couple of times. So we'll weave that back and forth. So now from behind, we'll come to the front and go through the middle here. And just repeat this process a few times back and forth until we completely fill in our nose. Should only take about 1 or 2 more times, and then we'll move on to creating the little lines of the mouth. So once you've filled your nose in enough, let's have your next stitch, wherever you're at, come from the middle again, right here in that center, our little home base as we mentioned. Have it come out, and then we're just going to go down 1 stitch directly underneath, and we can push that all the way through to the back. That's just going to create that little mouth line there. Perfect. So you can add a smile onto Rajah if you want. I'm going to leave mine just like this, and we can come to the back here and cut these little yarn tails off. After you've done that, we now have a bunch of ends back here. So what I'm going to do is just tie these in a knot just a few times, and this will just help really secure all those embroidery stitches down. Make sure they don't come flying out of the project or come undone at any point. Just makes it feel nice and secure. And I can cut these even a little bit shorter here, because now we're going to sew this actually on to Rajah's head. Okay, so now we have our white yarn and the muzzle threaded on to our tapestry needle, and we can begin the next set of instructions for the mouth. So we do need to position the mouth between rounds 9 and 15 of the head, lightly stuffing using the yarn tails to sew it down. So find where you'd like the front of Rajah to be. I actually liked where I had it already. And then we can go to the top of the project here. This is round 1, this swirl. So we just need to work down from here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and number 9 is right here. So let's just push our tapestry needle in through about 1 stitch length, and we can pull this through, and this will kind of anchor the muzzle of Rajah down to the project, just like that. Okay, so now it'll naturally fall to round 15, so you don't need to worry so much about that. But now let's sew this down. So I'm going to turn my project slightly sideways so you can see. And the easiest way for me to do this is to now, since we are on the body, we're going to go through that last round of single crochet in the muzzle. And we'll just pull this through towards us. And into the next stitch here, we're going to go into the body and weave it through about 1 stitch, have it come out slightly over, and there we go. Now that's anchored down. Now we can go through that last round of single crochet the muzzle, and into the next stitch we'll go through the single crochet of the body, just like that. So we're going to repeat this process all the way around. Make sure you are remembering to re-straighten your muzzle, keep that nice and straight. And once we have just a small gap opened over here left before we sew that up, we'll lightly stuff it together. So I'll meet you back when I have a small amount of room left. We'll stuff it up and finish the muzzle off. So I have my muzzle mostly secured on here except for this little hole right here. I'm going to take the tiniest amount of stuffing. This might even be a little bit too much. And I'm just going to push this in with my nail into his little muzzle so that it's nice and full. And that was too much, so just take some out, no big deal. There we go, that's plenty stuffed for me. And now I'll just continue finishing weaving through and sewing this onto the body. Make sure you're also keeping these stitches as close to the body as possible so you can't see them off of the side here. You want to keep them nice and in line with that muzzle. So go ahead and finish that up, and then we'll move on to our next step, which is going to be making our eyes. When you feel like you've secured the muzzle on nice and snug, go ahead and just take that yarn and push it through the project. Have it come out any which way. Mine's coming out the back here, which is fine. We're going to actually use that to just secure that into place and make sure the yarn tail doesn't pop out of the muzzle at any point. Take your scissors, cut it off, and that will hide into the project. So we won't have to worry about it at any later point. It's nice and secure on there. So that is now our muzzle all done, and we can begin our eyes. So go ahead and grab your black yarn again, and we'll rethread our black yarn to do the eyes. Now that I have my black yarn threaded, we're ready to begin the eyes. So using color B, embroider the eyes on round 9, leaving 6 stitches in between them. Make 4 or 5 stitches in the same place for the eye. So we can actually use this round 9 where we began the muzzle as our guide, and we're just going to go over. So I'm going to use the center of his nose as the center of my project, and I can count over 3 stitches from here. So I have 1, 2, 3. You can count these little V's. So right here off to the right of that third stitch, I'm gonna just begin by placing my tapestry needle into the project and going up 1 stitch length. Just like that. And I'm gonna pull this all the way through. We got a lot of yarn to pull through, but go ahead and pull this all the way so that I have a small tail of black left. So that's all the amount of yarn I'm gonna leave as a tail, and I'm gonna hold that down with my thumb while I work these stitches. So it did say to go through about 4 or 5 times. So in order to do that, you're just gonna go through that exact same stitch over and over again until you reach those 4 or 5 times. So this will actually just be time 1, because as you can see, we don't have any line yet to make an eye. So there's 1. That's just 1 time through. Go ahead and do that 4 or 5 times, however many you feel looks best, and then we'll meet back to do the other eye together. Okay, so for reference, I went ahead and went through 4 times for me. 4 was plenty, but you, again, do as many as you'd like. And now, if you remember, it said 6 stitches apart. So we can actually go to the center of the nose here, just making sure we're in line with that other eye, and we'll go up to the bottom of that eye and go over 3 again. 1, 2, 3, so to the right of that right here. Now we are going to take our yarn and go all the way across, but instead of going across like this and starting here, we're going to create a line if we do that, which of course we do not want. So in order to avoid the line, we're actually going to go back under our stitch here, right where we came out of this eye. We're going to go under and we're going to go directly over until we are at that 6th stitch over here at the top of the eye again. So my nail is at the bottom, we're coming out the top here right now. And let's pull that all the way through. Okay, see, now we're over here, but we have the yarn behind the project where we can't see it, which is exactly what we want. And now going down 1 stitch length right where that nail is, we can go ahead and create the first embroidery stitch of this other eye. So if you went through 4 times, go ahead and do this 4 times. And if you went through 5, go ahead and do that. I'll meet you back here after you've gone through the correct amount of times for you. Okay, now we have both eyes on Rajah. Look how cute that is looking. We're gonna do our eyebrows next. So still with our black yarn and color B here, we're gonna work off of round 7, which is going to be 1 row above the eye, leaving 5 stitches in between. So let's do that. So 1 row above is just right up 1 here. So I'm gonna again hold this with my nail here. And we need to go back under again, remember, because if we go on top, we'll get a line. So back into that same stitch our eye is coming out of, and let's go up 1 and come out over here. Okay, I'm right above my eye here, and I'm just going to take my tapestry needle, go over 1 stitch, and I want mine slightly angled, so I'm going to make this one at the top of this stitch, how we're coming at the bottom here, just diagonally like that off the top. So I'm going to place my tapestry needle right there, but before I go through the stitch entirely, I'm going to count 5 over. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I want my tapestry needle to come out over here so I can make these eyebrows as even as possible. So right there is where I want to come out of, and I'm just going to push this yarn tail all the way through. And now the last thing we need to do to complete this eyebrow is to have it match this one over here. So just as we did before, we're gonna stay in round 7, but the bottom of round 7 and slightly diagonal again. We can just go through right here, and then we can actually push it out the back because we're gonna cut our yarn tail out the back here. So let's do that. Now with the yarn in the back of the head, we'll just take our scissors, snip that off right there. Let that fall into the head, and we just need to go ahead and take this yarn tail from the front of our work, and we need to weave it to the back as well, and we can cut our tail off just the same way we did with the front. So I'll meet you back here after I do that, and we'll begin putting on the ears. Okay, so now you can go ahead and pull both of your ears forward. We'll go ahead and work these. I'll work the first one with you. So for the ears, it says position them on either side of the head between rounds 3 and 8 using the yarn tails and tapestry needle to sew them into place. So I have my first ear threaded, and we'll go back to the top of that head, that swirl, and let's count back together. So we have 1, 2, 3. This is going to be where the ear starts. So I'm just going to push this through 1 stitch. Whoops, watch that stuffing. Sometimes it likes to come out, so be careful of that there. and then it should naturally fall into place on round 8, but if you want to count, you can as well. So we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And when it falls, it does fall right to round 8 there. So now from here, we're going to do something very similar to how we sewed the muzzle down. We're going to go through every single stitch of this last round of single crochet and then back through the body as well to make sure it's nice and secure. We're going around the entire circle. So every stitch goes through the body and through the ear. Go ahead and secure that down all the way around and do your other ear on the other side, going 3 stitches down. I'll meet you back after we've secured both ears and we'll begin putting the arms on together. Make sure to, after you're done fastening your ear down, you do have it come out a random spot again on the project and you cut it off from there instead of right where you're sewing it down, so that'll keep it extra nice and secure. So next up we have our arms. So let's pull our arms forward. I know we have a lot of body parts here for Rajah. So we have our 2 arms. I'm just going to work one with you. So the instructions for the arm are to position the arm on either side of the body, 1 round below the neckline, around 19, using the yarn tails to sew it into place. So if you remember this ridge line right here, this was where we worked the back loop single crochet. So we're going to go 1 below it here, and let's try to line it up with our ear as much as possible. So I'm just going to go through about 1 stitch just like that and pull it all the way through. And then from here, that just anchored it on nice and secure for me. And I can go ahead and just sew through a couple of times back and forth from the arm on to the body. Biggest thing here is just to make sure you are sewing through both the front and the back of the arm every time you go through so that it's secure on both ends. So go ahead and just work a couple times back and forth through to secure that arm on, and do the exact same thing on the other side. Make them as even as possible, and I'll meet you back here. We will begin putting the legs on after this. So now we've got both arms attached, and I did do 1 leg to show you what it'll look like done. I wonder if that will be helpful for you or not, but now we are going to do the other leg together. And it says for the legs, position the leg on either side of the body between rounds 28 and 31. Make sure the leg aligns with the arm, and using the yarn tails to sew it into place. So if you turn Rajah all the way over, this last round we worked was round 31. So I'm going to actually push my first stitch right through round 31 at the bottom here. And again, then it'll just naturally fall to round 28, just like that. So if we look at it from the front, it should align nice and evenly, which it does. And we'll just begin weaving it on the way we wove on the muzzle and the ears, going through every single stitch until we have a small hole left. And then we'll stuff that lightly if you haven't already stuffed your leg before we end up closing it all up. So I'll meet you back here when we have just a little bit of the leg open and we'll stuff it up. Okay, I have a small little hole here and an even smaller amount of stuffing. I'm just gonna push this into that leg at the bottom, and you'll just wanna lightly stuff this, nothing too crazy here. Once you've done that and you're satisfied with it, you can go ahead and complete closing up this hole. Make sure none of that stuffing is popping out. And we'll just finish this up, and then we will be on to the tail. So we'll attach the tail next. Now with our tail threaded on, we're ready to secure the tail onto the body. So we'll turn Rajah over to the back here, and we can count up from round 31 to 26 because the instructions are to place it on the back of the body between rounds 26 and 28. So we have 31, 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, making sure it's as even to the back as possible. Go through about 1 stitch as usual. And we'll just sew this down a couple of times here until it's nice and secure. Go ahead and do that a few times through, and then after this, we're going to place the collar on before we get into sewing all the lines onto Rajah. All right, the tail is all sewn on. We have our last piece to sew on. So it says wrap the collar around the tiger's neck and use the tails to sew the edges on and join. So we'll just put this around Rajah's neck. Make sure it gets all situated the way that you like it. You want to keep that straight edge of the chain against the neck so that the frilly ruffly part is outwards, just like that. And when we get to the back here, I'm just going to go ahead and sew these last two ends together. It should fit perfectly around his neck, but I'll just go ahead and sew these together, and that's actually good enough. We do not need to sew through every stitch. You totally can if you want, but I'm going to leave it like this because I think it looks totally fine and I feel like it's very secure. So my last step is just going to be tying these two ends in a knot here, just like that, and then I'm going to take the ends and just weave them through the body as I have with every other piece so far, and I'll snip them off so that they won't be popping out of the project. I'm going to go ahead and do my other yarn tail here, and then we'll meet back up to put on the lines. So this is the fun part where you can really get creative with how you design Rajah's stripes. Wherever you want to place them, you are more than welcome to do so. You can use as much of this black yarn as you'd like, or as little, whichever makes you happy. But I'll show you how to do a couple of the stitches and then you can do the rest by yourself. So I'll actually start on the back of the head here. I'm going to duplicate the picture that is provided for you in the instructions. I just want to show you how I did these. They'll be very similar to how we did the eyebrows, if you remember how we did those. So I'm going to pick kind of the top of the back of the head here by the ears, and I'm going to go through just a few stitches, making sure I'm keeping that nice and straight and pulling my yarn all the way through, leaving again a small tail just like we did when we were creating our eyes. And then I want to close that up by going through this same stitch where my yarn tail is coming out, and then I'll have my tapestry needle come slightly below and out of the rounds below it, just to make that next line on the back. All right, let's move this yarn tail up here so it's out of our way. Now we can go across here. This one's a little bit longer, so I'm going to go a couple stitches over, turn my tapestry needle, and come out another row below and even more stitches over, because it again gets a little bit longer for this next line. And then for the last line on the back, I'm just going to have it come straight across again and a couple stitches over again to make it nice and equal, and we'll just have it come out a random part of the head here. Just like that, pull it through, and now I have my 3 lines created. So what I can do is snip this top line here and hide that one into the head, and then this one I'll have to weave in before I actually end up hiding that into the head as well. And you can repeat that process for all parts of the stripes you want to add. So I'll add all my stripes on, I'll come back, and we'll take one final look at Rajah. All right, I've added all my stripes on to match the photo, so this is what it will look like if you do all the same ones. Don't forget about the tail, because I think the tail is the cutest part. But your Rajah the Tiger is all completed. Congratulations and good job. I'm so proud of you for getting through this tutorial with me. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope you found it helpful. I'd love for you to check out LYKKE's other AMITAMI kits and give another one a try, and until next time, I'll be seeing you then. Bye!